And that's the truth. Because the world is changing. And the question is, are you changing with it? Remember, we're in a post-2007 era. So this is my definition. Honestly, I didn't nick it. This is my definition. I have to sit down and think about this. So my definition is, the Rainmaker creates growth for the benefit of all through commitment. The Rainmaker creates growth for the benefit of all. And I'm going to split that into 4 sections because it's really pertinent you understand the essence of this definition. So what a Rainmaker does to start with is that a Rainmaker has to first and foremost be able to create. You can't just say, I'm trading and that's it. You have to create something. And we call it value, fine. But I'm going to go further than that and say it's not just about value. You have to create something. You have to be an alchemist. There has to be that on one side there's nothing, and then you've done some rainmaking magic of some sort, and then on the other side there's something, right? And that process, which some people call alchemy, is rainmaking. That is the beginning of rainmaking. How can you spot something, make a few adjustments, for whatever reason, however you do it, and then voila, you have value, you have something in presence. Now, this doesn't have to apply to just salespeople. It doesn't have to apply to business people. It doesn't necessarily have to apply to, it can apply to nurses, doctors, pastors, any endeavor, charities. What do you have to do to make something happen from nothing? But when you've created that something, what is it supposed to do for your business or for yourself or for your organization? It's got to create growth. There has to be growth. There has to be locomotion. There has to be movement. Your business has to grow. And growth is only done 2 ways. You acquire clients and revenue and profit, or you cut costs. But somehow you have to make sure that your profitability is constantly going up. How do you do that? And then fine, so you create growth. And growth doesn't necessarily also mean business. It could be yourself. How do you grow as an individual? How does the people around you grow? You know, how are you a leader making people grow around you and you grow as well? How does the organization, in all its forms, financially, economically, sociologically, how does it all grow? But if you do grow, fine, so what's the point of growing? That's the thing. You grow so you can amass as much money for yourself, and that's it. Are you really going to enjoy it? No. You have to grow for the benefit of all. That's when it's worth it. And whatever all means, could be all in your organization, it could be all in your ecosystem, it could be for your family, but there has to be a higher purpose for rainmaking. There has to be a reason for you to go through a lot of heartache, and this involves a lot of heartache, to get to the stage where there's some benevolence involved. And the last bit is commitment. Now, commitment is a double-edged sword, in the sense that, on one hand, you have to be committed to being a rainmaker. You have to be committed to being better, to being sharper, to being more innovative, seeing the world from a different perspective. You have to be committed to understanding who you are, having a vision for yourself. You have to be committed to all of these things. After all, there's no such thing as an uncommitted rainmaker. That's not moral in itself. Doesn't make sense. But there's another side to commitment. You probably, and again, it's another saying from John Patterson, you probably heard the saying that nothing happens until someone sells something, right? Probably everyone's heard that saying. And I want to take it further and say, actually, nothing happens until one party gets another party to commit. Because if you can't commit, nothing happens. No politics, no inventions, no nothing. The whole world is just dark ages. Because as much as you might have an idea, you might have an invention, or you might have a political ideology, if you can't get others to commit to whatever it is that you're trying to get them to commit to, then no movement happens. Then it's a dead duck. And so that's the other side of commitment. How do you get other people to commit to whatever it is you want them to commit to? So all of these points are rainmaking. You create growth for the benefit of everyone through commitment. Double-edged sword. So I talked about salespeople and saying that we have a one-dimensional set of skills. They're very good skills. It takes a lot to be able to present. It takes a lot to be able to find solutions and plug them in the right way. It takes a lot to overcome objections when someone's saying to you, I don't think that's a good idea. And you have to figure out how to overcome the objection. It takes a lot to do that. It takes a lot to find clients, to cold call, to do all the things that a one-dimensional salesperson does every day. So it's not easy, but it's still one-dimensional. It's still where you find yourself not catching up. That thing that was niggling me, where how come I'm not making more gains than I should, even though I'm doing everything it takes, is because I was thinking one dimension. The Rainmaker is more than one, it's multi-dimensional. So just run through some examples here. So the first thing is collaboration. You know, we can't see things in terms of competition, where you're a solicitor, I'm a solicitor, we're going for the same client. Yeah, right? I want to take you out. And when I do take you out, when I win, that makes me bigger, that makes me bolder. No. If the internet and the way things are today, everything's about collaboration, everything's about cooperation. Whereby in my business, for example, so I design, I build, I finance and operate data centers globally. That's what I do. And when I tell people this, so you build data centers, you have a few and we're continuing growing. So we acquire them, we can build them. The number one business model we use is joint ventures. We look for a client and we say to the client, let's work together. It's not, I'm trying to sell to you. And we look for a competitor and say, we're in the same space, let's work together. It's competition. We can, because the focus is scary. The focus is, I knew this would happen. The focus, I don't know what to do now. The focus is, yes, I don't need the slides. So the focus is that, wasn't on this, now I'm kidding. The focus is that we need to be able to look at the system as an ecosystem. So Rainmakers are ecosystemic. They see an ecosystem where you have different people communicating, just like we're all here in the room. We have different guys that do different things. And Rainmakers see that ecosystem and say, I'm going to use that ecosystem to grow my business. Not just about networking, that's part of it, but it's also about adding value and seeing value and working on how the system works. They study the system and they study how the values work, and then they contribute to that and they gain from it. So competition or collaboration works within that. A Rainmaker also has vision. So what I mean by that is they think about what they're trying to do. They are purpose driven. I wasn't purpose driven in the 90s. I was more asset driven in the sense that I want that car. It's a very nice car. I saw it in Live and Let Die. So, or whatever, right? And when I was a kid, so I'm going to get that car, for example. So my whole purpose of earning a commission and selling and closing deals is that car. You're in the car when you buy the car, and it's just the car. It's no big deal, and you forget about the car. That wasn't purpose driven. That was asset driven. Now, to go through all of these things where you have to be good at understanding business, you have to be good at understanding finance, accounting, HR, every aspect of the business, of your customer's business. You have to understand your client's client and everything that entails in that sense of the word. You will see that your sphere of influence and your sphere of control is so varied and so wide that if you are not purpose driven, if you're not driven from something higher than just, I want to be the best this, I want to just have that, it'll be very difficult for you to be that Rainmaker because it's too much involved. You start to go back to, well, look, I'm good at being a solicitor. I think I'll just focus on that. Well, I'm good at being a normal sales guy. This is just too difficult because being multidimensional is just wide ranging. It's wide varied. So having a purpose means that you have something higher than you. It can push you to achieve things that you felt you couldn't achieve. The question is, where are you going to get that purpose from? So this is the multidimensional scenario. Now, I had this epiphany. I was a sales director for a number of guys, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to share some of my ideas with these guys. And that slowly morphed into a lot of talk and morphed into a book. So I wrote the book. There's 188 insights into how Rainmakers sell their way to financial success, make rain. And it went to #1 on Amazon. It's just crazy. I mean, I published the book, we went out, I just did some LinkedIn stuff and some Facebook stuff, did a few, AdWords, paid a bit of money, not much, just bits and pieces, just to see what would happen. All I wanted to do was just to sell 20 books, and I thought it's worthwhile. And this is over and above my family, because obviously my mom can buy 20 books. But, and then I launched it in Birmingham and London, and it just went to #1. It was ridiculous. And I thought, wow, this is great. So I'm not going to go today into the 180 insights, because I have to get to Birmingham at some point, right? Because mother-in-law is still in Newcastle. But anyway, I want to just sort of share 5 things with you, if that's okay. 5 of those insights. The first one, if I can remember,
You want the book?
is about your purpose. Now, I've touched on that. Now, who has heard of, I'm sure some of you have heard of, Simon Sinek?
Yeah.
Start with why. Yeah? Great. You know, nothing new, but he took something and twisted it and made it into something else, and it just became a revolution. And so, if you don't know Simon Sinek, go and look him up. But he came up with a book, and obviously his famous TED Talk, Start with Why. And it's really challenging businesses to not look at what they do or how they do it, even though they should do that, but to really start to focus on why they do what they do, because it's the why that determines the what and the how, essentially. So that's what made Apple special, was because people didn't know. They bought Apple because it was Apple, not because Apple were actually good at making mobile phones in China, because they do like everybody else. In fact, cheaper. Samsung is a better phone in terms of the components, but Apple's a better phone because of Steve Jobs, you know. So it was like, that's the why. So how do you now establish your why? And I'm taking that further and saying, what about your individual why? Why do you do what you do? Have you sat down and really thought, why is it that you do what you do? And I look at that in the book. I mentioned about goals. Now, everyone knows what goals are, but when you think of goals, you think of SMART goals. Right? You know, the SMART acronym. When I think of goals, I think of it in two ways. I think of it as like you have prime numbers and you have composite numbers. Prime number is divisible by itself, or one. Composite number is divisible by other things, right? And so it's the same with goals. You have prime goals, and you have composite goals. If you focus all your energy on a composite goal, then you're going to run out of steam. If you say to yourself, no, here are my prime goals. And one example could be, I want to be healthy so that I can see enjoy my kids and my grandkids. I want to grow old, so I want to be healthy. No, that's a prime goal. Now from that goal, you then decide, I'm going to go to the gym. Fine. So you go to the gym and you gym it out for a bit, for probably a year, and you get bored of the gym. And you go, well, no, actually, I think I should go on a diet. I should eat better. Or I should have regular checkups now that I'm over 40. You know, which reminds me, but anyway, regular checkups. The point is that your composite goals are changing, but the prime goal has always been the same and will always be the same, which is, I want to be healthy for my kids and my grandkids. It's a noble goal. It's a goal that will last you throughout your lifetime. And the composite goals of that will change, almost. Just like the strategy and the tactics, right? And so you go wrong if you have a goal and it's actually a composite goal. I want this shiny car. It's amazing. That is not a prime goal. The prime goal could be, you know, I want to have enough wealth where if I want a car, I can buy a car. Any car I want, right? So you're focusing on having freedom, having enough wealth to be free, to do what you need to do. Now, if you focus on that, then how you do that, and what happens whether you get the car or the house or the privacy or whatever, is just consequential of the prime goal. When you do that, you then become purpose-driven, because everything that's pushing you is based on your prime goals. So the question I'm challenging you is, when you think of your goals, do you think in terms of prime and composite, or do you just have a list of goals and you tick them off? Because everyone that does have a list of goals, when they've ticked them all, what now? Life becomes a bit boring. When you sit down and thought, no, what is my life goal? Then focus on that, everything flows from that. The second takeaway is not in this book, but it's in my second book, which I'm writing. I'm not advertising it yet, right? But it's based around laws, laws of how to gain and keep customers. And it's a law of affinity, right? Which essentially means that the quality and the size of your network is directly proportional to how much wealth you have, right? The quality and the size. So it's not just the size, it's not just quality, it has to be the right mix. So when I say network, now one might think network of friends, that's true, you know, but then network could be anything. You have social media. What is the quality of how you use social media? How you grow your network? What is the size of that network? You know, what kind of events do you go to and how do you utilize those events? How do you understand the ecosystem around you? And how do you use that to your advantage? The bigger the ecosystem, or the more you tap into the existing ecosystem, which is big enough anyway. And the more quality you use to play with that system for your benefit and the benefit of others, will directly proportional to how much money you earn in your lifetime. That is true. I mean, you know, you think of likes of Google or Facebook, right? Now, there are lots of businesses that have come about and they've done very well. But no one's seeing businesses like Google and Facebook and the new tranche of technology businesses grow so quickly. It's the speed of growth that's the issue, as opposed to they're the biggest. They're not actually the biggest companies in the history of the world. You know, if you know about what's the Scottish guy that had a steel company? I forget his name. In the 1800s, what have you. His company was one of the market cap of his company is still bigger than any other companies today, right? But so it's not necessarily the biggest companies, but it's the speed of growth. And the reason why it's growing so quickly, these companies like Google and Facebook and WhatsApp was bought for how many billion by Facebook, and there were only 50 guys, and they've only been around for less than 2 years. It's because of the network, because of the size of the network that they're dealing with. And so how can you tap into this? The third area is Team U. So what I mean by Team U is, there's you, but you can't get to where you think you can get to. Oh, interesting.
I'm not sure what that is.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it up for you.
Right. You need to get to where you need to get to by yourself, right? But you can get to further if you use other people. So one area is mentorship. If you haven't got a mentor, you need to get a mentor ASAP. Because a mentor, even if the mentor is the same experience as you, same level as you, but at least it's not you. So the person can challenge you. The individual could make you say, look, think of it this way. Could turn your mindset. Could make you stick to your goals because you've shared it with your mentor. But it's not enough to have a mentor. It's good to have a protege. Whoever you are, you can't wait until you're the most experienced guy or the biggest market player before you say, hey you, come under my wing, I'll show you the ropes. You should do it now. Because when I was at school, I'm sure you all had the same experience. You learn, let's say algebra, and thinking, yeah, I'll learn. And then you teach it to one of your friends. That experience of teaching that to your friend makes your learning experience that you just had go tenfold. So how do you impart what you know to anyone, to the young, or to a colleague? Taking someone under your wing. Can I carry on? Let's see if I was right.
I'm not sure where we are.
That's right.
Still go from yours, it's not moving from here.
Okay. No. So you have mentorship, you have someone being a protege, so you can transfer knowledge and you gain a feedback loop from your own experience and your own sense of what you're doing. But the third area is your mastermind, which is a group of friends that you can meet every so often just to share ideas, just to bounce ideas off. And not necessarily a mentor or a protege, just a group of equal friends. So imagine that you had all three. That's your team. You would accelerate beyond, what you can think you're capable of because you're now a team, and that's really key.